Welcome back, fiber friends, to another episode of the Wool to Gold podcast. Today's topic, we are going to be going over my shop update. So if you don't know already, I do run a little shop here online where I sell some of my handspun and more recently some hand processed fiber, some hand dyed fiber, all of that fun stuff. So I'm going to show you everything that I put in this shop update. People seem to really like these videos, if for nothing more than to just see what I've been working on behind the scenes and all the handspun that I've been making that you guys don't necessarily always see, especially if you only follow me on here or only follow me on like a few different platforms. You might be missing certain things. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the handspun I made, some of my favorites of the bunch, some of the ones that I heard are your guys' favorites, which I love getting the feedback because you guys always seem to love the skeins that I am the hardest on myself about, that I don't necessarily love for one reason or another. So we're going to talk about that today as well. I'm also going to be including some hand crocheted items as well as some hand dyed fiber in this drop, so I'll show you guys that as well. Okay, so we're starting with the hand crocheted items because this is the smallest category. As you can see, this is all of them. I know it's not a lot, but listen, I'm getting my Crojo back. I plan on listing a few things in the future. I do have a make a sweater with me video that is in progress. I will show you guys the sweater when it is finished. I am very confident I will finish it. However, I don't want to jinx it. I'm on a roll with it. Like, I did a swatch test and measurements and everything. Y'all are gonna see it. You're gonna be very proud of me. But in between that, I've just been making these cute little scrunchies. These are going to be listed all together as like the algae scrunchie pack because, I don't know, in my opinion, they have algae colors. This one is a 100% cotton boucle yarn. This one has some of the 100% cotton boucle in a different colorway, and then also some sparkly mohair on the outside. And then this yarn also has that same cotton boucle on the inside, and then a mohair acrylic wool blend on the outside. I think these are fun. They're just little pocket projects. I obviously don't have the hair to wear them myself, and so I'm just gonna list them and make them available as like an inexpensive little add-on. And we also have these really fun, I'm calling them the clown core scrunchies. This one is a really neat wool boucle that I found, and obviously it's this like fun rainbow color, and I did the entire scrunchie in that. And then on this one, I did the inside of the scrunchie in that color, but on the outside, I held a few different yarns together. I held a black mohair with this really fun polka dotted like acrylic spotty yarn, as you can see, and then I held two strings of the like polka dotted yarn, and it had this really cool effect. I'm very happy with these. I think they're cute. Again, I'm just going to list them on the site. They'll be available if you want them. Next up, I want to talk about the fiber that's in the drop because that is the second smallest category. This one, as everybody's going to be happy to see, is a little bit larger, and I do have plans to do another bat drop. I always put them off because bats are, for whatever reason, I have a hard time cranking them out. I'm going to try to work on that, maybe in between sweater making, perhaps. Maybe that's what I'm going to do with my time next week. However, I am going to list this. I meant to list this over the summer. It's a Gulf Coast native bat that I made over the summer. It's called Hot to Go. It's very, very cool. I'm going to put the details on the site, but as you can see, it's a mix of like warmer colors, a little bit of purple in there as well. Very, very pretty. I honestly kept it because I had every intention of spinning it, but I've decided that that's not really going to happen. I'm not going to do that, and so we're going to list that bat as available. In addition, I have a bunch of naturally dyed Wensleydale lamb locks that I'm going to be listing. So these are going to be super soft. I purchased the whole fleece, I washed it, processed it, mordanted all of this with alum, and then, well, except for this one, because this one is a Susu Zome dye, and you use a Bengala prefixer for that, as opposed to a alum mordant, which I use for the rest of these. However, I am going to make some of these available. I know people are going to be excited about that. I am keeping a lot of them for myself to spin because that's why I bought the fleece in the first place. However, we're gonna list a little bit of it. So I am going to have it's 2.5 ounces, but they're more like 2.6, 2.7 ounce bags available of the Brazil wood Wensleydale locks. I'm gonna take these out of the bags. I do use, so all of the bags that I use in my like little storefront or bags that I got from other purchases. And so I like to think like they're upcycled, reduce, reuse, recycle. I'm not gonna buy new bags because that just adds to waste, right? These are really, really beautiful. I'm really happy with how these came out. I'm gonna have 2 of these bags available. I'm also going to have smaller bags of naturally dyed fiber available as well. This is about an ounce and a half, ounce and a half plus. All of these, I made sure that there was at least like 0.1 ounces over what it says it is. But this is about an ounce and a half of Osage orange and madder root dyed Wensleydale locks, and then that black tar Susuzome soot dye. This one's really beautiful. It's really a true black, and so the grays that are like kind of mixed in with this are like a true gray. They're not like blue or purple or all the other things that a lot of the times, like when something is is gray, you see that a black is not really a true black. So this was super fun to work with. Then the last thing in the fiber drop is going to be this mixed bag. So this is also 2.5 plus ounces of Wensleydale lamb locks. We have the black Susuzome dye. We have the Osage orange that is mixed with madder root. We have Kutch, which gives a little bit more of, I feel like it's hard to see when it's in the bag, but I feel like it's more of a brownie orange as opposed to like a true orange with like nice yellow undertones, and then some of those really beautiful Brazil wood locks as well. So if you kind of want to like mix and match, you want to play with the colors a little bit, you can get this little play pack. And then of course, last but not least, I'm going to try to speed run all of the handspun yarn that's going to be in the drop. This is not all of it. I also have another little box. However, I do plan on sort of making all of those available in like an art yarn set, if that makes any sense. I'm going to talk about that in a second. So first we're going to start with one of my personal favorites, this beautiful, beautiful skein of Wensleydale lock spun yarn, tail spun yarn, whatever you want to call it. This one is called Periwinkle Lamb. It's about 52 yards. It is a single ply because I just think it looks best that way. Next up, this fantastic fractal 3-ply that I spun. This one is called Natural Tension. I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's 176 yards. It's 100% hand-dyed BFL from Fossil Fibers. Absolutely in love with this. However, I don't really see myself using it just because I have enough handspun to use in other projects right now, so we're going to list this in the shop. We have a few rare wool moments, like kind of intermittent in this drop. This is one of them. So this is some naturally dyed Gulf Coast native. I dyed this with Brazil wood, and then I blended it with this really cool teal sari silk, and then a little bit of blacklight reactive Firestar. That's what like kind of the flecks of yellow are called. It's called Absolutely Groovy Baby because this is a really groovy skein, at least in my opinion. It's about 108 yards and it's a 2-ply yarn. Speaking of rare wool, speaking of Gulf Coast native and 2-plies, we have this beauty as well. This really cool thread plied yarn. Obviously, this is naturally dyed yellow with a little bit of Osage orange, and then I mixed in some locks from a local farm. I'm pretty sure they're mohair locks, right? Yeah, so it's the naturally dyed Gulf Coast native, the local mohair, and then it is a cotton thread with little beads on it. It's called Easter eggs because the little beads are like Easter eggs along the way. And then this is the last of the naturally dyed yarn that I'm going to have available. This is Gulf Coast native with those Wensleydale lamb locks, once again, that you saw in other skeins. There is a little bit of pink sari silk kind of blended in with this, so it does have a little bit of depth to it. And I really appreciate that when I posted a photo of this online, people really loved this yarn. I named it Spring Bloom because, I don't know, it reminds me of blooming flowers. I really love it. It's a single ply, and at the end of the day, I was really like hemming and hawing when I was spinning this, and I didn't really like it for a while when I was looking at it, but everybody loved it online. Everybody was like, oh, it really looks like blooming flowers. It's so fun with all of the texture, and so I've really come around to it. I think I was just like worried about the high contrast colors that I chose, the yellow and the purple, and the way those colors intermingle and interact with each other. I'm not always crazy about, but at the end of the day, I think the natural dye with the Osage orange and the logwood just made this more palatable, if that makes any sense. I feel like even the most high contrasting colors when they're coming from nature just still look a little bit more natural together. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Oh, and then before I forget, this is 146 yards. Next up, we have the Super Coil art yarns that are going to be available. So this one is some hand spun that I did with merino wool. This really beautiful teal, nice and soft, very squishy. Again, it's a super coil, so it's a 2-ply. It's about 26 yards. It's called Soft Squeeze. I'm also going to have these yarns available. These are actually hand plied yarns, not hand spun. So I didn't spin any of the elements with these yarns. They are 100% cotton, and really what I'm going to do is I'm going to list this super coil yarn. It's called Sweet Tart because look at that. Does that not look like Sweet Tarts to you, or like those 90s necklaces? Do you guys know what I'm talking about when I say that? I don't even know what those necklaces are called. They used to look like the candy Sweet Tarts though. This is about 28 yards. I just think it's really cool looking and I want somebody else to use it. But this is going to go along with it. This is just the remnants of it, more like boucle style as opposed to super coil. And again, these are 100% cotton, and because they're technically hand plied and not hand spun, like obviously labor and time went into them. However, they're going to be like listed as more affordable than something like this that's like 100% hand spun. Speaking of bringing like commercial and handspun yarns together to make something new and cool, I do have this yarn as well. This is mostly merino, so the base of it is hand-dyed merino that is held with a little bit of black mohair. That's what that like black fuzziness coming through underneath is, and the green sort of like neon color. And then I hand spun some merino as well to ply with it. And it's called Techno Girl. She is technically a 6-ply if I counted all of the plies total, and it's about 46 yards. This is the last of the yarns that is not a part of the art yarn set that I'm going to show you. This is Morning Tea Time. It's 50% BFL, 50% merino. It's 154 yards. It's a 2-ply. I really like the way this came out. I didn't know if I was going to love it, but I do like the way that the more neutrally dyed BFL sort of made this lilac color, this lavender color, less bright and just a little bit more neutral. And I look forward to seeing, like, I hope to see this one crocheted or knit up into something just because I think it's going to be really pretty. And last but certainly not least, we have the art yarn set. I'm not really sure what I'm going to call the set yet. If I'm being honest with you, I'll be super real. These skeins give me total Muppet vibes, so I kind of wanted to call it something Muppet themed, but I don't know if I can justify like including these guys. If it's, I don't know if that says much on theme. We might just have to go with like an art yarn set type of name, something that's a little bit more clear. However, that's exactly what this is. It's a bunch of art yarns. It's going to come in a set, and it's going to be more affordable than if you purchase all these art yarns separately. So if you're a weaver specifically, I've seen at a lot of fiber festivals, people buy like really small yardages. We're talking like 5 to 15 yards of like really insane art yarn for pretty expensive, like a lot of times up to $2 per yard. So this is going to be more affordable than that. It's going to be like, I'm pretty sure it's over 120 yards of art yarn total. And I don't know the exact price I'm going to list it for yet, but again, it's going to be economical considering how much labor has to go into art yarn. So there's a few different ones here. There's 2 different boucles. There are 2 different cable yarns, and then there's also, I guess I would qualify this as like a gimp yarn because it's like one thicker ply and then one thinner ply. So here we have 2 different cables. One of them is white and teal, and then this cable is green and this really lovely sort of like lavendery color. This one has a lot more texture mixed into it. As you can see, there's eucalyptus crimp and there's sari silk. This is about 22 yards, and this one is about 18 yards. They are both 4-ply cable chain yarns. Next up, we have the boucle yarns. These guys are my favorite because I'm just a sucker for boucles, so this one's really fun. It is some hand-processed Corriedale that I plied with some acrylic thread that has some really cool little, I think it's agate? It might not be agate. Little stone beads, that's what I'll say. Little stone beads This one is a 3-ply and it's about 30 yards of yarn. And then this bad boy here is this one I really love the name of. This one's called Art Yarn Dropout. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot to mention. This one is called Chained. Yeah, Chained Together. This one's called Chained Together. This one is called Rope Bunny. No comment. Don't say anything about that in the comments. We'll keep that a secret between us. This one's called Art Yarn Dropout though. This one I think is my favorite of the bunch. It is Columbia wool. By the way, this one is also Columbia wool and this one was merino. But it is Columbia wool that I blended with eucalyptus crimp, but this one is copper dyed, and then more of that really fun teal sari silk, and then it is plied with a cotton thread, and it's just so squishy and fun and textured. This yarns like this do bring me like a lot of joy. They're a pain in the butt, and like boucles are so high labor when it comes to yarns, but I do really love them, and I want them to be in somebody else's hands so they can become something beautiful. Last yarn we're going to talk about, this bad boy is a 2-ply. The name is Fraggle Rock. Again, very Muppety. I don't know, I'm getting Muppet vibes. It's about 52 yards. It is merino, Columbia wool, eucalyptus crimp, stellina, and blacklight reactive Firestar. So it is very sparkly, some of which is blacklight reactive as the tag implies. This one, I think you would call this like a gimp yarn. It's one thicker single and then one thinner single plied together, and I just think it came out really beautiful. It came out real Fraggle Rocky in my opinion. Anyway, that's all for now, folks. I do want to get this video up and posted, and by the time that you see this, the site will be updated. So if you're watching this video and you're like, I wonder if that yarn is finally up and listed and available, it probably is, as long as somebody else hasn't purchased it yet. Once again, thank you for watching. I hope you guys had fun. If you have any questions about any of the yarns, you can write them down below. And if you are curious about the weights of any of these yarns, because I did not include those, I just realized, you can look on the site. They will be listed on the description on the site, whether like they are fingering weight or worsted weight or just super bulky, whatever the weight may be. You can find all that information on my shop, and I'll have that listed below along with all of my other social media. Thank you so much for always supporting all of my yarn fiber friends. It really is like so amazing that people are willing to buy my art and like happy to buy my art and use it in their own art. It's really awesome. And I just am very thankful for the opportunity. I can't believe it's essentially been like a year since I started the podcast, and that's crazy. And I will be talking about some of my fiber goals for the new year, but I'm going to be doing that in the video that I post about the sweater that I'm making. We're going to be making the sweater and also talking about New Year's goals as sort of like, I don't know, I feel like you know how some people are like, oh yeah, like the first the like thing that you do on the like first day of the new year is going to reflect the rest of your year. I don't really believe all that jazz, but I do think that like, I don't know, there's something about that first project of the new year being a really good one, especially when it comes to like one of my major fiber goals, spoiler alert, one of the fiber goals is that I really want to be better at like finishing projects, because some of the projects that I finish are really great. They're awesome. Like the blanket that I made is so freaking cool, and I can't believe I made it in like, honestly, like 2 weeks time I had that blanket done. But I want to be better at finishing projects, and so I'm going to tell you about the rest of my New Year's goals while we are finishing that sweater. I think that is apropos. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.